A hug is an unassuming gesture, often overlooked, but it holds an almost alchemical power to transform lives. Think of it, a simple act of connection, physical and emotional, capable of bridging vast chasms between people. A hug transcends language. It requires no elaborate explanation, no cultural training, no complex ritual. It is human communication distilled to its most essential form. You might think of it as locality to safety or temperature to mortality. What does a hug signify? First, it's an acknowledgement. I see you. In a world so often characterized by alienation and division, the act of acknowledging another person, fully and without condition, can be a profound moment. A hug bypasses the noise of words, the ambiguity of intentions, and reaches directly into the realm of pure connection. For a fleeting moment, it says, "You matter. You belong." A hug is also vulnerability. To hug someone is to open yourself up to them, to lay aside your defenses, even briefly. It's a mutual surrender. Think of it, in a world that rewards displays of dominance, strength, and autonomy, a hug is a quiet rebellion, a way of saying, we are more connected than we are separate. That vulnerability is strength in disguise, a form of courage rarely acknowledged. And then there's the physiological impact. When you hug someone, your body releases oxytocin, the so-called love hormone. It lowers stress, reduces blood pressure, and strengthens emotional bonds. These are not trivial effects. They are rooted in the deep biology of human survival. We are wired for connection. To touch, to embrace, is to activate a primal mechanism designed to tell us you are safe, you are not alone. Yet, in its simplicity, a hug is also complex. It requires timing and context. Hugging without understanding its appropriateness can create distance instead of closeness. But when given freely and appropriately, it becomes one of the most authentic forms of human expression. In families, hugs heal wounds, they repair fractures that no amount of words ever could. In friendships, they remind us that even in moments of disagreement, the bond is stronger than the conflict. And in romantic love, a hug is an anchor, a silent promise that you will hold each other, not just physically, but emotionally, even when storms rage. There's a reason why we instinctively hug in moments of extreme joy and unbearable grief. The hug is primal. It predates words. It signals solidarity and shared experience, something that transcends the intellect and speaks directly to the soul. So the next time you hug someone, understand the power in that moment. It is not just a reflexive act. It is a profound declaration of humanity. A simple hug is a reminder of the profound truth that in the end, we are all here, struggling, triumphing, and enduring together. A hug is much more than a casual physical gesture. It is a profound acknowledgement of another person's existence and value. In the chaos of everyday life, where people are often consumed by their own worries, priorities, and distractions, a hug cuts through the noise to deliver a powerful and unspoken message. I see you. This is not simply about noticing someone's physical presence. It is about truly recognizing their humanity, their emotions, and their intrinsic worth. When we pause to hug someone, we create a moment of intentional focus. In that brief interaction, there is an unspoken agreement that the other person matters enough for us to put everything else aside. It's a small act, but it carries immense weight. So much of modern life is characterized by detachment. Whether through digital communication or the pressures of fast-paced routines, people rush past each other, barely exchanging words, let alone meaningful connection. In this environment, a hug becomes revolutionary. It says, you are not invisible. I acknowledge your presence, your struggles, your joys, and your existence. There is something deeply validating about this act of recognition. At its core, a hug is about more than physical touch. It's about emotional acknowledgement. To hug someone is to affirm that their presence in your life has value. It transcends superficial pleasantries or passing interactions. Words can often feel hollow or insufficient, especially in times of deep emotion. A hug, however, bypasses the limitations of language, expressing what words sometimes cannot. It reaches straight into the heart, delivering a sense of belonging and significance that resonates on a deeply human level. For those who feel isolated or unseen, the impact of a simple hug can be transformative. Imagine a person struggling with self-doubt, loneliness, or grief. In such moments, their inner world can feel overwhelming, as though they are disconnected from everyone around them. A hug interrupts that spiral of alienation. It communicates, "You are not alone. I see you as you are, and I accept you." This message, though silent, is profoundly healing. It counters the inner narrative that so many carry, the fear that they don't matter, or that their struggles are invisible to the world. This acknowledgement is especially powerful because it operates at multiple levels. On a physical level, a hug is grounding. It anchors a person to the present moment, providing a tangible reminder of connection. On an emotional level, it conveys empathy, understanding, and acceptance. And on a deeper, almost spiritual level, it reinforces the shared humanity that binds us all. In a world that often prioritizes individual achievement and self-reliance, a hug reminds us that our worth is not measured by what we accomplish, but simply by who we are. There's a reason why a hug is often the first thing we seek in moments of intense emotion. Whether we're celebrating a victory, grieving a loss, or simply feeling overwhelmed, the need for acknowledgement is universal. A hug fulfills that need in a way that feels instinctive and natural. It doesn't demand explanation or justification. It simply exists. Even in moments of silence, a hug communicates volumes, saying, "You matter to me, and I am here with you." It's worth noting that the acknowledgement conveyed through a hug is not one-sided. While giving a hug can be an act of recognition, receiving one is equally affirming. The exchange is inherently mutual, creating a moment where both people feel seen and valued. This reciprocity strengthens the bond between individuals, reinforcing the idea that relationships thrive on shared acknowledgement and appreciation. In a world where so many people go unnoticed, a hug is a rare and precious gift. It breaks down the barriers of indifference, offering a moment of genuine connection that has the power to uplift and transform. By acknowledging another person through a hug, we affirm not just their value, but our own capacity for compassion and connection. A hug has the extraordinary ability to transcend language and cultural barriers, making it one of the most universal and timeless forms of human connection. Across the world, regardless of the differences in customs, traditions, or spoken languages, a hug communicates something deeply understood by everyone. It is a gesture of acceptance, care, and warmth that requires no words, no translation, and no cultural context to convey its meaning. This universality is what makes a hug so powerful. It reaches into the core of what it means to be human. Human beings are social creatures, hardwired to seek connection and belonging. But language, while remarkable in its complexity and nuance, can sometimes fail to bridge the emotional or cultural gaps that separate us. Misunderstandings occur, words are misinterpreted, and some feelings are simply too deep or too raw to articulate. In such moments, a hug becomes an ideal medium of expression. It bypasses the potential pitfalls of verbal communication, reaching directly into the realm of emotion. A hug doesn't just express care or empathy, it embodies it. Think of moments of profound joy or sorrow. When words fail us, we instinctively turn to physical gestures to express what we feel. At a wedding, family members and friends hug the bride and groom, conveying love and happiness in a way that speeches or toasts alone cannot. At a funeral, mourners embrace to share their grief, creating a collective space for comfort and understanding that goes beyond spoken condolences. In these instances, a hug does what language cannot. It connects people at a fundamental, emotional level. The beauty of a hug's universality lies in its simplicity. It does not rely on complex rituals or detailed knowledge of another person's cultural background. It requires only an openness to connect and the willingness to show care. While different cultures may have varying norms about personal space and physical affection, the essence of a hug remains universally understood. A mother hugging her child in one part of the world feels the same protective love as a mother in another. A soldier returning home to embrace a loved one experiences the same relief and joy regardless of their cultural or linguistic background. Even in situations where people do not speak the same language, a hug serves as a bridge. It conveys understanding and solidarity without the need for words. In times of crisis, for example, when communities come together to help one another, hugs often become a natural part of the interaction. They symbolize unity, shared humanity, and mutual support. In these moments, the differences that usually divide people, language, nationality, culture, fade into the background, and the shared need for connection takes center stage. The nonverbal nature of a hug also makes it incredibly inclusive. It is accessible to everyone, regardless of age, ability, or education. A child who cannot yet speak, an elderly person who has lost their voice, or someone with a disability that limits verbal communication can all express and receive care through a hug. It is an inherently equalizing gesture, reminding us that at our core, we are all human beings with the same basic need for connection and belonging. Furthermore, a hug transcends not just cultural barriers, but also emotional ones. In tense situations, a hug can diffuse hostility and create a space for reconciliation. It demonstrates a willingness to set aside differences, even if only temporarily, to acknowledge shared humanity. A simple embrace has the power to soften anger, mend relationships, and foster trust. This emotional universality makes the hug a powerful tool for connection in both personal and global contexts. At its heart, a hug is a silent affirmation that we are not alone in the world. It reminds us that no matter where we come from or what language we speak, we are united by the same need for love, empathy, and belonging. In its simplicity, it carries a profound truth, that the things that connect us as humans are far greater than the things that divide us. A hug, in its quiet, in unassuming way, serves as a reminder of this fundamental truth, bridging gaps that words often cannot. A hug is a deeply symbolic act of vulnerability and mutual surrender, embodying a strength that often goes unnoticed. In a world that frequently celebrates independence, dominance, and self-reliance, the simple act of embracing another person offers a quiet but powerful rebellion against these values. A hug requires a willingness to let down one's guard, to step outside of the protective walls we often build around ourselves, and to connect with another person in an authentic and unshielded way. It is a moment where defenses are lowered and two people share an unspoken agreement of trust and connection. When you hug someone, you enter their personal space and they enter yours. This closeness can feel risky because it requires exposing yourself to another person's energy, intentions, and emotions. It's an act of openness where you relinquish the control and distance we often use to navigate relationships. This vulnerability is not a weakness, as it might initially seem. Instead, it is a profound act of courage. Allowing someone to come close, physically and emotionally, requires confidence in your own sense of self and a trust in the other person's intentions. The mutual nature of a hug adds to its significance. Unlike other forms of physical touch that might be one-sided, a hug is inherently reciprocal. Both people participate equally, creating a moment of shared vulnerability. This reciprocity makes a hug unique because it fosters a sense of equality, regardless of status, power, or role. When two people embrace, they temporarily set aside their differences and meet on common ground. In that moment, they are not boss and employee, parent and child, or teacher and student. They are simply two human beings acknowledging one another in the most fundamental way. Hugging challenges the societal norms that encourage people to maintain a facade of strength at all costs. Often, strength is perceived as the ability to remain stoic, to keep emotions in check, and to avoid showing need or dependency. But true strength lies in the ability to be vulnerable. To hug someone is to say, I am not afraid to let you in. I am not afraid to show that I care. This kind of openness is far more powerful than any pretense of invulnerability. It demonstrates a confidence that does not come from detachment, but from a deep understanding of the importance of connection. The act of hugging also carries an implicit acknowledgement of our shared humanity. In moments of vulnerability, whether it's celebrating a triumph, grieving a loss, or simply seeking comfort, Hugs remind us that we are not as self-sufficient as we might pretend to be. They are a quiet admission that we all need one another, that our strength as individuals is amplified when we connect with others. Shinchenzal leadership took this shared vulnerability is not something to fear. It is something to embrace. It is what makes us human and what allows us to form deep and meaningful relationships. Hugs also teach us to trust. To hug someone is to let them close enough to feel your heartbeat, to sense your breathing, and to be present with you in a way that words cannot replicate. This closeness requires faith in the other person's intentions, creating a moment of intimacy that cannot be faked or forced. Even in relationships where trust has been damaged, a hug can serve as a first step toward rebuilding that connection. It conveys a willingness to let go of past grievances and to open up to the possibility of healing and reconciliation. Moreover, the strength in vulnerability is magnified in moments of hardship. When someone is grieving, overwhelmed, or afraid, a hug can provide solace in ways that no other gesture can. It communicates, you don't have to face this alone, offering a sense of security and solidarity. This shared vulnerability transforms the moment from one of isolation into one of connection. It reminds us that we are stronger together, that our burdens become lighter when they are shared. In a society that often equates vulnerability with weakness, the act of hugging stands as a testament to the contrary. It reveals that there is immense power in allowing ourselves to be open to connect and to share in the emotional experiences of others. A hug is not just an act of physical closeness. It is a declaration of trust, a moment of shared humanity, and a profound expression of strength through vulnerability. A hug is not just an emotional gesture. It is a biological phenomenon with tangible effects on the body and mind. When two people embrace, the simple act of physical connection triggers a cascade of chemical and neurological responses that have profound implications for our well-being. Central to this process is the release of oxytocin, often referred to as the love hormone or bonding hormone. Oxytocin is produced in the brain and plays a crucial role in forming and strengthening emotional bonds, reducing stress, and fostering a sense of trust and safety. This seemingly small, everyday gesture of a hug has a ripple effect on our health, emotions, and relationships. When you hug someone, the pressure and warmth of the embrace activate sensory receptors in your skin, particularly those known as Pacinian corpuscles. These receptors send signals to your brain, stimulating the vagus nerve, which plays a key role in regulating your parasympathetic nervous system. This is the system responsible for promoting relaxation and reducing stress. In this way, a hug can quickly shift your body from a state of tension or fight or flight into one of calm and restoration. It's no coincidence that hugs are instinctively offered during moments of distress. They have an almost immediate soothing effect. The release of oxytocin during a hug further amplifies this calming response. Oxytocin reduces the levels of cortisol, the stress hormone in your body. High cortisol levels are associated with anxiety, depression, and a range of physical ailments, including high blood pressure and weakened immunity. By lowering cortisol, oxytocin not only improves mental health, but also enhances physical resilience. In fact, studies have shown that regular physical touch, such as hugging, is linked to better cardiovascular health, stronger immune function, and even faster recovery from illness. It's a testament to the deep connection between emotional well-being and physical health. Beyond its stress-reducing properties, oxytocin also fosters emotional bonding and trust. This is why hugs are so effective in strengthening relationships, whether between romantic partners, friends, family members, or even acquaintances. The act of hugging releases oxytocin in both individuals, creating a mutual sense of connection and belonging. This is particularly important in close relationships where physical touch serves as a nonverbal affirmation of care, affection, and commitment. A hug can repair emotional rifts, reinforce feelings of security, and deepen intimacy. It's no exaggeration to say that hugging is one of the simplest and most effective ways to nurture and maintain strong relationships. Hugs also play a critical role in childhood development, where physical touch is essential for emotional and social growth. Infants who are held and hugged regularly develop stronger bonds with their caregivers, exhibit better emotional regulation, and grow up to form healthier relationships as adults. The oxytocin released during these early interactions helps lay the foundation for trust and attachment, shaping a child's ability to connect with others throughout their life. Even as adults, we carry this innate need for physical touch and the emotional security it provides. A hug, no matter how small or fleeting, reminds us of this primal connection. On a neurological level, hugs activate the brain's reward system, releasing dopamine and serotonin, neurotransmitters associated with happiness and pleasure. These chemicals contribute to the feelings of warmth, contentment, and well-being that often accompany a heartfelt hug. This is why a hug can lift your mood almost instantly. Whether you're celebrating a joyful moment or seeking comfort during a difficult time, the power of a hug to influence your emotional state is profound, serving as a natural antidote to loneliness, sadness, and stress. The physiological effects of hugging extend beyond the individuals involved. They have a ripple effect on the broader social dynamics of a group or community. When people feel connected and supported through touch, they are more likely to exhibit pro-social behaviors such as empathy, cooperation, and kindness. This is why hugs are often part of rituals and gatherings, from family reunions to cultural ceremonies. They reinforce a sense of unity and shared purpose, reminding everyone involved of their collective bond. Hugging is a reminder that our need for connection is not just emotional, it is biological. The body responds to touch in ways that enhance both our physical health and emotional resilience. By reducing stress, fostering trust, and reinforcing bonds, a hug becomes far more than a simple gesture. It becomes a cornerstone of human connection and well-being. The biochemical processes it triggers are evidence of how deeply wired we are for connection, showing us that something as small as an embrace can have an immeasurable impact on our lives. While a hug is a powerful gesture of connection and care, its impact depends heavily on timing and context. The beauty of a hug lies not only in its ability to convey emotion, but also in the appropriateness of when and how it is offered. A hug given in the right moment can be transformative, fostering trust, healing wounds, and strengthening relationships. Conversely, a hug offered at the wrong time or in the wrong context can feel intrusive, awkward, or even unsettling. Understanding the dynamics of timing and context is crucial to unlocking the full power of this universal gesture. A hug is a deeply personal act, and its appropriateness often depends on the nature of the relationship between the individuals involved. A hug shared between close friends, family members, or romantic partners feels natural because it aligns with the existing emotional bond. In these relationships, hugs are an extension of the trust and intimacy that already exists. For example, a child running into the arms of a parent or a partner offering a comforting embrace after a long day strengthens the connection between them. The shared familiarity and trust make the hug not only welcome, but expected. However, the dynamic changes when the relationship is less intimate or involves individuals who are acquaintances or strangers. In such cases, a hug can feel too personal if it's not clearly invited or wanted. Not everyone is comfortable with physical touch, and personal boundaries vary widely based on cultural norms, individual preferences, and past experiences. For example, in some cultures, physical touch is seen as a natural part of interaction, while in others it may be reserved for very specific circumstances. Recognizing these boundaries is a key part of ensuring that a hug feels appropriate and meaningful rather than forced or invasive. Timing is equally critical in determining the impact of a hug. There are moments when a hug is the most natural and effective way to express emotion. Moments of great joy, deep sorrow, or overwhelming relief. In these situations, words may fall short and a hug can fill the emotional gap. For example, when someone achieves a significant milestone, like graduating or landing a dream job, a congratulatory hug adds warmth and depth to the celebration. Similarly, in moments of grief, a hug provides a sense of solidarity and support that words alone cannot convey. It becomes a way of saying, "I'm here for you," without the need for verbal explanation. On the other hand, offering a hug at an inappropriate moment can disrupt the emotional tone of a situation or create discomfort. For instance, a hug offered too soon in a professional setting might be misinterpreted as unprofessional or overly familiar. In moments of conflict, a hug might feel premature if the emotions involved have not yet been addressed or resolved. Timing a hug correctly means being attuned to the emotional state of the other person and gauging whether they are open to physical connection in that moment. A well-timed hug respects both the situation and the other person's feelings, amplifying its positive impact. Context also shapes the way a hug is received. In public settings, some people may feel self-conscious about physical displays of affection, while others might welcome the gesture as a sign of warmth and openness. In private settings, the same hug may feel more personal and meaningful as it allows for deeper emotional vulnerability. Similarly, the nature of the occasion, whether it's a casual gathering, a formal event, or an intimate moment, can influence how a hug is perceived. Being mindful of these nuances ensures that the act of hugging aligns with the emotional and social dynamics at play. It's important to note that while hugs have the potential to offer comfort and connection, they should never be imposed. Forcing a hug on someone who is not comfortable with it can have the opposite effect, creating tension or discomfort instead of closeness. Consent is a crucial aspect of any physical gesture, including hugs. A simple gesture like opening your arms or leaning slightly forward can signal your intention and allow the other person to choose whether they wish to reciprocate. This approach respects their boundaries while still offering the opportunity for connection. Ultimately, the timing and context of a hug determine whether it will be perceived as a gesture of genuine care or as an unwelcome intrusion. When given thoughtfully and appropriately, a hug becomes a powerful tool for communication, capable of bridging emotional gaps and reinforcing relationships. It conveys empathy, solidarity, and affection in ways that words often cannot. By paying attention to the nuances of timing, context, and individual preferences, we ensure that every hug carries the weight of its intended meaning, strengthening the bonds that connect us to one another. In moments of grief and distress, when emotions run deep and words often fail, a hug can serve as a lifeline, a simple yet profound gesture that transcends language and provides comfort in ways that verbal expression cannot. Grief and distress are universal experiences, touching every human being at some point in life, yet they are deeply personal and unique in how they are processed. I hope the act of hugging, however, meets these emotions at their core, offering solace, connection, and a sense of being understood without the need for explanation. It becomes a way of saying, I am here for you without uttering a single word. When someone is grieving or in distress, they often feel isolated, as though the weight of their emotions has created an invisible barrier between themselves and the rest of the world. Words of comfort, while well-intentioned, can sometimes feel hollow or inadequate. This is where the power of a hug becomes evident. A hug breaks through the barrier of isolation, providing a physical reminder that the person is not alone. It conveys empathy in a way that words cannot, as it is felt rather than heard. The physical closeness of a hug creates a sense of safety and belonging, even in the midst of emotional turmoil. The therapeutic nature of a hug in these moments is deeply rooted in the human need for connection. When we hug, our bodies release oxytocin, sometimes called the bonding hormone. This chemical not only reduces stress, but also fosters a sense of trust and emotional closeness. In times of grief or distress, when the body is flooded with stress hormones like cortisol, the release of oxytocin acts as a counterbalance, helping to calm the mind and soothe the soul. The act of hugging becomes a natural way to regulate emotions, providing a moment of respite from overwhelming feelings. Hugs also serve as a powerful way to acknowledge and validate someone's pain. Often, when someone is grieving or struggling, there is a tendency to try to fix the situation with words, offering advice or platitudes in an attempt to make things better. While these efforts come from a place of care, they can sometimes feel dismissive or out of touch with the depth of the person's emotions. A hug, on the other hand, does not seek to fix or explain. It simply says, I see your pain and I am here with you. This validation is deeply comforting because it honors the person's feelings without judgment or expectation. In moments of collective grief, such as after a tragedy or loss within a community, hugs take on an even greater significance. They become a way for people to come together to share their pain and to draw strength from one another. In such instances, a hug is more than just an individual act. It is a symbol of solidarity and unity. It reminds those who are suffering that they are part of a larger whole, that they are not alone in their sorrow, and that others are there to support them through the difficult times. The simplicity of a hug also makes it universally accessible. It does not require the right words, timing, or eloquence. It is a pure, instinctive gesture that conveys care, compassion, and understanding. For someone overwhelmed by grief or distress, the warmth and pressure of an embrace can ground them in the present moment, providing a sense of stability when everything else feels uncertain or chaotic. Even a brief hug can have a lasting impact, serving as a touchstone of comfort that the person can carry with them. Additionally, hugs can bridge gaps in understanding when grief or distress arises from experiences that are difficult to relate to or comprehend. For example, someone grieving the loss of a loved one may feel that their pain is too immense for others to grasp fully. In such cases, a hug bypasses the need for words or explanations, offering connection and comfort without the pressure to articulate feelings that may be too complex or painful to express. It becomes a way of communicating empathy when language is insufficient. It's important to note that while a hug can be incredibly comforting, it must be offered with sensitivity and respect for personal boundaries. Not everyone processes grief or distress in the same way, and some may prefer solitude or other forms of support. A hug should never be imposed, but rather offered as an option, allowing the other person to decide whether they are open to receiving it. This respect for their autonomy enhances the power of the gesture, ensuring that it is received as a genuine act of care. In the darkest moments of life, when emotions feel too heavy to bear alone, a hug can provide a beacon of hope and comfort. It is a reminder of shared humanity, a silent assurance that no one has to navigate their pain in isolation. By simply being present and offering an embrace, we create a space for healing, connection, and the possibility of light, even in the midst of profound sorrow. Saxo. Hugs possess a remarkable ability to transcend language, culture, and social barriers, serving as a universal mode of communication. In a world filled with diverse languages, traditions, and customs, the simple act of hugging unites people on a fundamental human level, expressing emotions that words often fail to. Whether it is joy, sorrow, love, gratitude, or comfort, a hug communicates these emotions with clarity and sincerity, cutting through complexities and reaching directly into the heart of the shared human experience. At its core, a hug is a gesture that requires no translation. Across cultures, it is widely recognized as a symbol of warmth, acceptance, and connection. While the frequency and context of hugging may vary from one culture to another, its essential meaning remains universal. For instance, in many cultures, a hug is an integral part of greetings, farewells, and celebrations. In others, it may be reserved for more intimate or familial relationships. Despite these differences, the emotional resonance of a hug is universally understood. It signals a shared bond, a willingness to connect, and a sense of belonging. This universality makes hugs especially powerful in moments where words are insufficient or unavailable. Imagine meeting someone who speaks a completely different language or comes from a vastly different cultural background. The barriers to verbal communication may seem insurmountable, but a hug bridges the gap effortlessly. It expresses empathy, solidarity, and understanding without the need for spoken words. For example, in humanitarian crises or disaster situations where language differences can complicate communication, a hug offers immediate and tangible comfort, showing compassion and care in a way that transcends linguistic limitations. Hugs also play a vital role in overcoming social barriers that might otherwise separate people. In a society where individuals are often categorized by status, wealth, or profession, a hug dissolves these distinctions. It levels the playing field by emphasizing shared humanity over superficial differences. Whether it's between a teacher and a student, a leader and a follower, or even strangers brought together by circumstance, a hug reminds us that at our core, we all share the same emotional needs. It is a silent acknowledgement of our interconnectedness, cutting through the labels that often define us. Moreover, hugs can serve as an equalizer in emotionally charged situations, fostering reconciliation and understanding. In moments of conflict, where words may only deepen misunderstandings, a hug can break the cycle of tension and create a space for healing. For example, after an argument between friends or family members, a hug can signal a willingness to move past the disagreement and focus on the bond that unites them. It communicates, "I value our relationship more than this conflict," without needing to explicitly say so. The physical act of embracing shifts the dynamic from confrontation to connection, paving the way for resolution. In addition to bridging linguistic and social divides, hugs have the power to connect people across generational and cultural gaps. For instance, grandparents and grandchildren may not always see the world through the same lens or share the same experiences, but a hug transcends these differences, expressing love and affection that both can understand. Similarly, when individuals from different cultural or national backgrounds come together, a hug offers a way to express respect and goodwill without relying on potentially misunderstood words or gestures. It becomes a universal gesture of inclusion and acceptance. Hugs also hold profound significance in moments of collective experience, where people come together despite their differences to share in a common emotion. Think of the hugs exchanged in times of victory, whether at a sporting event, a political rally, or a community celebration. These embraces unite individuals in a shared sense of joy and achievement, reinforcing the idea that they are part of something larger than themselves. Similarly, in times of tragedy or mourning, the hugs exchanged among strangers at vigils or memorials serve as a reminder that grief and compassion are universal, cutting across the divides of language, culture, and background. The power of a hug to transcend barriers is amplified in its ability to express emotions that are complex or deeply felt. There are moments when words feel inadequate to capture the depth of what we feel, whether it's overwhelming gratitude, profound sadness, or unconditional love. A hug steps in where language falters, conveying these emotions with a simplicity and purity that words often cannot achieve. It is a language of its own, one that is both primal and profound, capable of reaching across divides and connecting people on a deeply emotional level. Hugs remind us of the shared humanity that lies beneath our differences. They demonstrate that regardless of the languages we speak, the cultures we come from, or the roles we play in society, we all have the capacity to give and receive love, comfort, and connection. This universality is what makes hugs so powerful. They break down barriers, foster understanding, and create a sense of unity in a world that often feels fragmented. Through the simple act of embracing, we reaffirm the bonds that connect us to one another, showing that the most profound forms of communication often require no words at all. A hug may seem like a simple gesture, but its effects extend far beyond the moment of physical contact. The memory of a heartfelt embrace has the power to linger, creating lasting emotional imprints that shape our mood, mental health, and even our sense of self. While the act itself might last only a few seconds, the impact of a hug often reverberates through time, providing comfort, reassurance, and strength long after it has ended. This enduring effect is a testament to the profound role that physical touch plays in our emotional lives and our ability to navigate the complexities of human relationships. One of the most remarkable aspects of a hug is its ability to create a sense of emotional grounding that persists well beyond the initial interaction. When we are hugged by someone we trust and care about, the feeling of connection and safety is etched into our memory. This memory serves as a psychological anchor, offering a source of comfort during challenging times. For example, the memory of a parent's hug during childhood can remain a source of emotional resilience well into adulthood, providing a sense of stability and love, even in moments of uncertainty. It becomes a mental resource we can draw upon whenever we feel alone or overwhelmed. The enduring emotional impact of a hug is deeply tied to the brain's neurochemical responses. During a hug, the release of oxytocin, the bonding hormone, not only fosters a sense of trust and closeness in the moment, but also reinforces the memory of that connection. This is why we often recall the warmth and comfort of a hug long after it has ended. Oxytocin's effects on the brain help to strengthen emotional bonds and enhance feelings of security, making the memory of a hug a powerful tool for emotional regulation. Even thinking about a past hug can trigger a similar calming response, reminding us of the love and support we have experienced. Hugs also have a unique ability to create a sense of shared experience that lasts over time. When we hug someone during a significant moment, whether it's a celebration, a goodbye, or a moment of loss, the memory of that hug becomes intertwined with the emotions of the event. For example, a hug shared during a joyful reunion or a tearful farewell can take on a symbolic meaning, representing the depth of the relationship and the emotions of that particular moment. These memories often become touchstones in our lives, reminding us of the connections and experiences that have shaped who we are. In addition to their emotional significance, the memories of hugs also influence our future behavior and interactions. A positive experience with physical touch, such as the comfort of a loving hug, can make us more open to connection and intimacy in the future. It reinforces the idea that we are worthy of love and affection, fostering a sense of self-worth that impacts how we approach relationships. Conversely, the absence of hugs or negative experiences with physical touch can leave emotional gaps that may take time and effort to heal. This underscores the importance of hugs in creating positive emotional memories that contribute to long-term well-being. The lasting impact of a hug is particularly evident in times of grief or hardship. When someone offers a hug during a moment of vulnerability, the memory of that gesture can provide comfort long after the immediate pain has subsided. It serves as a reminder that we are not alone, that someone cared enough to reach out and share our burden. This is why hugs are so often remembered as acts of kindness and compassion. They leave an emotional imprint that helps us endure difficult times. The memory of a hug becomes a symbol of support, a reminder that we are connected to others, even in our darkest moments. Moreover, hugs have a way of transcending time, allowing us to feel close to loved ones even when they are physically absent. The memory of a grandparent's embrace, a friend's comforting hug, or a partner's affectionate squeeze can evoke feelings of warmth and connection, bridging the gap of distance or time. These memories become a source of emotional sustenance, reminding us of the love and support we have received throughout our lives. They serve as a testament to the enduring power of human connection, offering comfort and strength when we need it most. The lasting emotional impact of hugs also plays a significant role in shaping our social dynamics. When we recall the hugs we've shared with others, we are often reminded of the relationships and moments that matter most to us. These memories can strengthen our sense of belonging and motivate us to nurture our connections with others. They remind us of the importance of showing affection and being present for those we care about, reinforcing the social bonds that are vital to our well-being. Ultimately, a hug is more than just a momentary act of physical closeness. It is a gesture that creates ripples in our emotional lives. The memory of a hug can provide comfort, strengthen relationships, and foster resilience long after the embrace itself has ended. It reminds us of the power of connection and the importance of being present for one another. Whether we are recalling the hugs of our past or creating new ones in the present, these moments of physical touch leave an indelible mark on our hearts, shaping the way we experience love, support, and belonging throughout our lives. In a world often marked by complexity and disconnection, the simple act of a hug stands as a profound reminder of our shared humanity. It transcends words, breaks through barriers, and communicates love, empathy, and solidarity in ways nothing else can. A hug is more than a fleeting gesture. It is an emotional lifeline, a source of comfort in times of sorrow, a celebration of joy, and a reassurance of belonging. It has the power to heal, connect, and anchor us, leaving an enduring impact that ripples through our relationships and memories. Ultimately, the power of a hug lies in its simplicity and universality. It is a language of the heart that requires no translation. In giving and receiving a hug, we reaffirm our interconnectedness, reminding ourselves and others that we are seen, valued, and never alone. It is in these small yet deeply meaningful gestures that we find the essence of human connection and the extraordinary capacity we have to uplift one another. A hug is not just an embrace, it is a bridge, a bond, and a gift, carrying with it the hidden power to transform lives, one touch at a time.